I have some hard-hitting journalism that will be taking place.
Oh, this is the Zenith double-edged Krake.
It still
Raken.
scares me, in a good way. Like, when did you finish this?
Pretty much like last night.
Last night. You just said you maybe shouldn't use it in your hair. I do have my luscious
Let's see a demonstration.
luscious
actually.
locks. What would you say is the main thing that you learned from making Balisongs that went into making this? Welcome everybody to Blade Show Texas. This is the first video we've ever made at Blade Show Texas. It's an awesome show, very similar to Blade Show West and Blade Show Atlanta. Much smaller, but Squid Industries and Lucas here. We always love Lucas. He's a lovely fellow. With some Balisongs, as you can see, they bring the whole kit and caboodle, even to a smaller show like Blade Show Texas. We have some fascinating Balisongs to show off, but particularly the first Squid Industries folding knife. And I have some hard-hitting journalism that will be taking place. So before we get to the folding knife, which is one of the most interesting ones I've seen, what are some of the more interesting Balisongs you got to show off today?
So I want to show you once more the Flytanium collab. This is the Zenith double-edged Krake.
It still
Raken.
scares me, in a good way. What has you excited to release this to the world?
Definitely the fact that it's double-edged. I don't think there's really any production with double-edged butterfly knives on the market. And also working with Flytanium, which is a wonderful brand. The team behind that brand is amazing.
Yeah.
And we're really excited to do a collaboration with them. So I think that this is the perfect project to do.
For my level of flipping, like I'm doing my thing where I pick up a Balisong for the first time and then I want to flip it. And I am flipping it, but I'm having to be very purposeful about not doing anything else that I would normally do with it. But I mean, it's a Raken. The Raken handles are just fantastic. It's a Raken in all the good kind of ways, but it just happens to be a little scarier with a double edge and a point. The Raken is the sourdough bread of Balisongs. Some say it's the white bread of Balisongs, and they're wrong. What kind of bread is the Raken? I said hard-hitting journalism.
I'm feeling, is it ciabatta?
Ciabatta.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the Mako?
Maybe like a French baguette.
Yeah, I'm excited for this to enter the world in a more proper way. But in terms of the really interesting new stuff,
This is the Mako live blade prototype. It's hand ground by our machinist Vince. We're gathering feedback for the first time here at the show. It's very far from finalized. I just finished the design. We've always wanted to do a live blade in a more budget-oriented realm. You know, the Kraken is a great middle tier, in my opinion, in terms of price range, but I think $265 is still far for a lot of people who are out there. So,
especially in the current market.
So yeah, we wanted to do a live blade in the sub 200 range for a while now, and that's what I think is great about the Mako live blade. I think the platform is excellent for it. The handles are what everyone's familiar with in the regular Mako bottle opener, so I think this is going to be a great addition to the platform.
It fits the design of the Mako well. I love the Mako V5 handles. I think the glow up from like the days of the Mako being a very plain design and being sandwiched to now it being in this iteration. I think that you guys have improved the Mako a lot. You guys moving into this being a live blade and being a more affordable American-made live blade, because there's really not that many of them.
Nope. I mean, really in that
Really
space
not.
is really just the Lucha, I think.
Is the blade steel like finalized, or is
No,
it still
it's not finalized yet.
Yeah. So this is a very early.
Yep.
Like, when did you finish this?
Pretty much like last night.
Last night.
Yeah, like last night.
Well, I mean, it's definitely still a Mako in terms of how it flips, which to me is a good thing because the Mako is a great foundation to build off of. So yeah, I really like that.
All right, next up, the Hydro Trainer. Same handles as the Hydro Live blade. It's got a comb-inspired blade. I wouldn't necessarily call this a comb. I don't think it's the greatest as to something that you put in your hair, but I felt that aesthetic was really cool.
You just said you maybe shouldn't use it in your hair. I do have my luscious.
Let's see a demonstration.
Luscious
actually.
locks,
Can we try? Yeah, it works.
It doesn't snag on super. But wait, if I do this? Yeah, no, that could be better.
Just like this reminder to use our Squid Industries affiliate discount link. Wow, look at all that money that was saved. I can use the money I saved to buy 5 copies of Shrek 2-disc special edition on DVD. Finally, a reason to live. Use the link in the description to get a discount on most Squid Industries products, which are pretty good most of the time. Just like these videos. Anyway, back to any level of sanity. See ya. Love you, bye.
Not the most efficient comb, but the design of this kind of thing. Was there any particular inspiration you drew?
We lean pretty heavily into an eye-looking shape at the end of each trainer blade. So this is the second iteration. Got a lot better reception than the first one, which is why I redesigned it. The first iteration was a little bit more traditionally looking, 2 slots. I think that going to this has been an improvement. I'm not actually sure when we launched this product. There's always been something fun and interesting next for us, and so this always gets pushed to the back, but something that we're still working on slowly.
You guys do keep churning out a fascinating array of different designs. Is it harder to figure out the handles or the blade?
Blade, always.
The blade, okay. To me, it would be the handles, because that's like what there's more of.
I think maybe it's just because it's what we're good at. Regardless of materials, we're just dialed in on making great handles. And the blade work, milling any hardened stainless is challenging.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see that continue to evolve. And you've obviously been experimenting with different types of blades, so I know there's one more.
Yep, so we have one more prototype to show up here. This is the Squiddy-ALT, so A-L-T.
Oh, it's the...
So T is for Tanto and Alt is for alternative.
Okay, so I knew this existed. I didn't know the name until just now.
The same handle platform as the Squiddy-ALT, of course. But none of the Q-face anymore. We've got a much cooler, sleeker looking Tanto blade. You know, it offers pretty similar flipping characteristics. I felt like the Owl was already a great flipper, and we modeled it closely like it. And this is an option for those who want a more tactical look. I mean, I think that there's a demographic out there that don't want it to look like a fake. You know, like I think some people find that that's perhaps a little bit too cutesy, which is great for some people, maybe not so great for others.
Yeah.
Some people that are looking for a butterfly knife or trainer want it to look like a knife.
Yeah, well, and so in terms of the flipping of it, the Squiddy-AL might be the best representation of just simple execution that just works really well. Because I love that it has the squid trainer kind of texture to it. It's the most affordable metal Balisong that you guys make. Mine's more special to me now.
Yeah.
I took with me to a month-long trip in New Zealand, and I can confirm that through multiple stages of customs, I was able to get a Squiddy-AL through all of that, to and from New Zealand. And that's where the face maybe played a role in that, because if they did take a close look, it's like, oh, it's literally just a funny face.
Yep.
But I definitely think there's merit to doing something like the rest of the trainers that you guys already have. It still has the same kind of flipping characteristics that you would want it to have. Now for the real meat and potatoes. This is where I don't actually have the answers to these questions that I'm about to ask. Introduce us to the Surf.
So this is the Surf. It's a button lock folding knife. We're debuting it for the first time here at the show. It's got channel, or as the folder guys call it, integral.
Integral, okay.
70-75.
That is a funny difference.
Aluminum handles. It's got an S35 blade. It's got grade 5 titanium hardware. It's got a press fit Zen pin, although guys in the folder market call it stop pins.
That's so interesting.
Skiff ball bearings, ceramic caged ball bearings. Overall, it's a knife that I was heavily inspired by both the Kraken and the Mordax. Those are probably the biggest inspirations to this knife.
Yeah, so I've messed with this a fair bit, and I'm coming at this looking at what Machine-Wise did with the Sonora. And from what I understand about the Sonora, and having talked to people that are in just the more like EDC knife crowd, that thing just blew them away, just with how good it was, and specifically it having a really well-tuned bushing as the actual pivot mechanism with a button lock. Did you see what Machine-Wise did and thought, ooh, now there's an idea, or was this something that you wanted to do independently?
I think it's a mixture of both for sure.
Okay.
We wanted to do folding knives for years. And I think that Dalen achieving that in titanium gave me confidence that the idea was viable.
What would you say in terms of developing it was the biggest challenge?
Definitely the button locking mechanism itself. Getting the action to feel the way we want it to feel was really, really difficult. Tuning the button system with a press fit stop pin is not the easiest thing to do, but overall, the knife came out great, and Dalen actually helped us manufacture the buttons for our first production run here.
Really? Okay. That is cool that you guys have that kind of relationship.
He did an amazing job. You know, he helped us a lot through the prototyping stages as well. So I owe a lot to Dalen and Martine. They're really wonderful, generous people. And
yeah, they're so.
The project wouldn't have been
awesome.
able to launch without them, to be honest.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Us having collaborated with them too. They're just so honest and so open, and they just care so much about all this stuff, and it's cool. So in terms of, I mentioned my hard-hitting journalism.
All right, let's hear it.
Why not do a bushing? When I saw the Sonora and I saw like the reception from like the folding knife crowd, and they just felt this unbelievably smooth action where you don't even feel like any friction.
And it's buttery smooth. I mean, it's like it's on glass. So nice.
In my head, doing a bushing, you guys being a Balisong company with really good bushing Balisongs, that to me felt like a no-brainer. So that's why I had kind of a raised eyebrow whenever I saw it was on bearings. So what went into that actual decision of choosing the pivot mechanism?
I mean, I personally think that bearings are a superior mechanism when it comes to smoothness.
Okay, interesting.
And plus, I trusted Steve from Skiff Workshop, and his stuff is the best, and I felt like it was another thing that I wanted to try differently. Okay. We can definitely make bushing systems, and we've done that well with the butterfly knives we have. I think I just wanted to challenge us in different ways and try something new.
That makes sense then. It is a smooth action. As you know, implementing a bushing into any product is always going to be a challenge for sure. So I'm assuming this is more reliable from a development and like just assembly and manufacturing standpoint than a bushing would be.
Well, I mean, I didn't make the bushing version, so I have no idea.
That's true.
It could have been easier, but I have no idea.
As you guys continue to develop this kind of stuff, maybe that's a direction you'll go into. So it's integral, right? It's not channel.
It's not channel.
Of course, in the Balisong world, we would just call it like the Mako would be a channel. Was there a motivating factor in doing an integral design versus it being two slabs of
This was
metal?
way cooler.
I'm assuming a little bit trickier to manufacture.
Yeah, for sure. Getting the washers and the bearings recessed into both sides of the channel was really tricky. We had to do some custom tooling to make that happen.
Another thing I was questioning though, I feel like there's a missed opportunity. You always have those holes with a line.
I did design it originally with the holes and patterns similar to the Kraken.
You did? Okay.
I did already.
What made you move away from that?
I think I was going for a more traditional look.
Okay. But I like the surf
There's
under
also
the
engraving on the
clip.
inside as well.
Oh, and this is number 6.
Yeah, I mean, we're planning to do different blade steels. It's S35 to start, but hopefully we'll do Magna Cut, higher end steels in the future. Also plan to do a Warncliffe blade, maybe a couple more blade shapes beyond that. A Tanto blade, because that's the best blade shape.
Yes. Tanto, baby. My B1 first production Tanto Krake Raken, I'll say it the right way, is still in my top tier Balisongs I've ever owned. And in terms of the blade steel, it does make sense because the blade steel is even more important in something like this because of course with the Balisong they care about it when it's a knife, but more of it is more about the actual flipping experience, and it's like, if it's good enough, steel, whatever.
Yeah.
But of course when this is just meant to be a knife, doing things like the Magna Cut steel and everything like that will be a really interesting thing to see.
We've got a lot to explore, colors too, so it'll be fun.
What would you say is the main thing that you learned from making Balisongs that went into making this?
It's a good question. I think what we learned and what we knew is that when everything is made with tighter tolerances, the knife assembles and performs much better. So
I am happy to say that it is still fidgetable. Obviously, you built your entire company on things that can be fidgeted with in all of the fun ways that we do all of that. The whole world of folding knives is something that I've wanted to expand into for a long time. That's why I was excited whenever I saw you were making one, because I just want to get into people's heads as to what draws them to, say, collect a bunch of folding knives versus a Balisong, because with a Balisong, there's so many different feels in the hand, the sound, the actual flipping experience, even just the pivot mechanism that it uses is just so different. And there's always been kind of a question mark in my head. Why would somebody want to collect a bunch of folding knives? They function in a very similar way, but of course you could say the exact same thing about Balisongs. Was there any specific thing that was motivating you to make this different than other things you've seen?
I think that integral aluminum is underutilized in the folder space. I do know that there's a lot of great manufacturers that are doing it. I just don't think it's been explored heavily. Considering that channel is our bread and butter, I figured that we'd apply the same philosophy to folding.
More hard-hitting journalism. Why does something like this cost about $250, but something like this costs $265? Because to me, this, in theory, is more work than this is, like substantially more work, but they're near the same price. If you could kind of break that down for me.
I think that the people don't understand that the mechanism involved in a folding knife can be a little bit more complex than a butterfly knife. And butterfly knives have bushings, which require really tight tolerances.
Yeah.
But the amount of hardware involved in a folding knife is a little bit more complex. I think it's priced the way it is because even though one has one hand and the other has two, close in price because of how difficult it is for the mechanism to feel the way it does now.
And I will say, like, I've messed with a ton more folding knives. This is one of the smoother ones that I've felt. It deploys nice and easily. It's just so many cheap knives and so many of the ones I've messed with, they just have the liner lock where you have to get your finger in there in the path of the blade and move it to the side and then try to close it. And that's something that always turned me off from regular folding knives. That always felt kind of sketchy to me. So I do love that this is just finger.
I think it's funny
do it
because
with one hand.
I feel like folding guys would think that flipping a knife would be far sketchier.
That is fair. Anybody that thinks that a Balisong is not the safest thing to EDC, especially now that we've mostly moved away from putting latches on our Balisongs, totally get it. So this is definitely a more reliable thing. Well, so assuming this does well for you guys, do you imagine that there's a future of you have a whole line of folding knives, all that are mildly different?
Something that we'd love to do, assuming that our audience enjoys it. We still want to prioritize and focus on butterfly knives, and we still have, as you can see, plenty of other projects on the way.
Yeah.
But this is a space that we love exploring, and I've been collecting all sorts of knives for all the time that I've been into butterfly knives too. Yeah, it's just a different way for me to express my creativity, and it's been really fun for me and the whole team.
This is not me just blowing hot smoke up your butt. You've proven that you can make a good knife. And that's what excited me with this, is you kind of being able to be creative in this space. Well, I'm super excited that you guys are moving in this direction. I think that you guys already represent how cool knives can be in general. And I think you're in a unique position of having started with Balisongs and then moved in to actual folding knives. Not a lot of companies really starting that way. Benchmade kind of started in that kind of realm. So it's kind of cool that you guys are kind of following a similar trajectory for that.
I mean, what will be different is that I think Benchmade abandoned butterfly knives altogether with some really wacky stuff. But I have no intention of doing that.
Okay,
So-
I was gonna say, I don't believe that your intention is
Yeah, so
to,
anyone who's concerned that we're going to follow that route, I promise you I will try my best not to.
the folding/pocket knife market is substantially larger than the Balisong hobby, but to me, Balisongs just have such a cool and passionate amount of people. Even if it is smaller, people just care so much about them and how unique they are, in my opinion, more than they generally would with these. So for someone like me, spending $240 on a pocket knife, I can't really justify that in the way that I could with a Balisong, but I do know that the way this is built and that you guys have put the time that you have into making sure that the pivot mechanism is just nice and smooth. I think that anybody in the folding knife crowd could know that this is going to be a reliable knife. And it's just a pretty knife. You've never not made pretty things though. And there will be a day where I own one of these, and there will be even more days where we talk about more pocket knives from Balisong companies in general, because to me, it's just such a fascinating angle when people are making both of them, machine-wise with the Sonora, you guys with the Surf, even Max Ace, they make folding knives. Who knows, maybe Nabalis will one day. Definitely leave a comment if you would like to see a full in-depth review of this guy, because I would love to do that. But thank you so much for your time.
Yep.
If you guys are ever interested in anything blade show related, any of the blade shows, you can kind of have this kind of experience where you get to just check out a lot of cool stuff with a lot of cool people.
Is that Brandon Blade Fires doing Balisong B-roll in the Blade Show building?
Lucas is always fantastic to get to interact with. I see you just hustling all day. I love that you guys always bring such a positive vibe to the Balisong space.
Try our best.
They care. Are they perfect? No. Are any of us perfect? No. Do they care? Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, Lucas is a Patreon supporter, and you have been from day one, which is so cool of you to do. So if you want to join the awesome Patreon supporters, you can support us for as little as $3 a month, and you'll get early access to a video like this days in advance of the public. And if you want to see more stuff like this, we'll see, because I'm filming this on the most rinky-dink tripod that could possibly be imagined, as bare bones as I possibly can. So thank you, Lucas, for
Thanks a
putting
lot.
up with all of that. Now, if you'll excuse us, surf's up.